Cassandra Peterson, Mistress of the Dark, the complete story. In this episode, we explore the remarkable life of Cassandra Peterson, better known to the world as Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. We'll journey through her humble beginnings, her rise to fame in show business, the creation of her iconic alter ego Elvira, and the personal trials that shaped her. Along the way, we will witness how Cassandra turned challenges into strengths, ultimately becoming a beloved pop culture figure and an inspiration to many. Chapter 1: Early Life and Formative Years. Cassandra Peterson was born on September 17, 1951, in Manhattan, Kansas. But the story of Elvira truly begins with a childhood marked by both tragedy and imagination. As a toddler, Cassandra survived a devastating accident. A pot of boiling water was accidentally spilled on her, causing severe burns over a third of her body. She spent months in the hospital, recovering from skin grafts. The scars from that accident would remain part of her life, and in later years, Cassandra explained that those early wounds helped shape who she became, giving her a sense of empathy for outsiders and an appreciation for the macabre. Growing up, Cassandra was not like other children. While her friends played with dolls, young Cassandra was obsessed with monsters. She asked for Frankenstein and Dracula model kits instead of toys, and she would sit wide-eyed at the sight of a Vincent Price movie. In one childhood memory, a cousin took her to see House on Haunted Hill, and although the images frightened her, Cassandra found herself captivated. She recounted having nightmares for weeks afterward, yet simultaneously felt thrilled by them. In her own words, she felt a strange love-hate obsession with that first horror film she ever saw. This early fascination with spooky stories and characters foreshadowed the path her life would take. During elementary school, Cassandra's family lived in Kansas, and her mother ran a costume shop. Even as a little girl, Cassandra loved dressing up, often wearing costumes everywhere she went, even to school. It became almost daily play, fueled by the imaginative world her mother provided. That playful habit of dressing up would later return in a big way. Eventually, Cassandra's family moved west, and she spent her teen years in Colorado Springs, Colorado. There she was an energetic girl, full of dreams. At around age 14, she discovered performing. Cassandra started working as a go-go dancer in local clubs in Colorado Springs. In a nightclub called Club A Go-Go, she wore mini dresses and danced for crowds, not for fame, but because she loved to move to music. She even performed for soldiers at nearby Army and Air Force bases. Meanwhile, she attended Palmer High School and graduated in 1969. From a young age, Cassandra had an adventurous spirit. Inspired by the movies, she saw Anne Margaret in Viva Las Vegas and felt the pull of the big stage. By the time she turned 17, her sights were set on Las Vegas. Despite being so young, she persuaded her parents to let her chase her dream. Armed with determination and her new drape of scars that she was learning not to be ashamed of, Cassandra drove to Las Vegas immediately after finishing high school. Chapter 2: Showgirl Dreams and European Nights. Las Vegas, in 1969, was a glittering city of lights and dreams. Cassandra, tall and confident, won a contract as a showgirl at the Dunes Hotel, joining the cast of Vive les Girls, a pioneering revue. She was notably young, just 17, making her one of the youngest showgirls the city had seen. Night after night, under the neon glow, Cassandra danced with professional showgirls and even rubbed shoulders with celebrities. One evening at a backstage party, Cassandra met Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. Elvis was generous with his time and took Cassandra under his wing for the night. They talked a lot as the evening went on, and he famously told the bright-eyed teenager, "Get out of Vegas, baby. You should be singing." Those words struck a chord. Encouraged by Elvis, Cassandra took singing lessons. She began incorporating a singing routine into the Vegas show. One of her numbers even earned the nickname the lesbian number, because all the dancers wore men's suits and danced with each other while Cassandra sang. Though playful and edgy, Cassandra was simply embracing her own bold style. After gaining experience on the Las Vegas stage, Cassandra's curiosity drove her overseas. In the early 1970s, she moved to Italy to explore the European entertainment scene. There, she became the lead singer for Italian rock bands like I Latins 80 and The Snails. Her time in Italy was a colorful chapter. She toured the European club circuit and picked up influences from local music and culture. Remarkably, while in Italy, she also had a brush with classic cinema. Through a producer who had filmed Vegas showgirls, Cassandra landed a small role in Federico Fellini's movie Roma, 1972. It was a bit part, but it left her starstruck. She later remembered watching the famous Italian director in action. After her Italian adventure, Cassandra returned to the United States with new skills and stories. In 1973, she headed to Miami, Florida, to work at a Playboy club. There she took the stage again, as a showgirl in a splashy revue called Fantasies of Love au Naturel. She strutted and danced under the gaze of Hugh Hefner and Miami's nightlife crowd. Cassandra also signed up with Playboy's modeling agency, where she worked as a hostess and fashion model. During this time, she toured nightclubs and discos across the country with a musical comedy act called Mama's Boys, bringing humor and song wherever she went. It was also during this period that Cassandra learned some hard lessons about trusting strangers. In her 20s, she agreed to what she thought was a private test photography session with a husband and wife team who promised it would never be published. In truth, the photos were intended for Penthouse magazine. Cassandra posed for the shoot, and then never heard back. Years later, when Cassandra had become famous as Elvira, she was shocked to find those revealing photos of her, including pubic hair, spread across sleazy men's magazines without her consent. She later called it perhaps the biggest mistake of my 20s. This experience was humiliating at the time, but also taught Cassandra the importance of control in her career. From then on, she guarded her image more carefully and resolved to own her work. By the late 1970s, Cassandra felt ready to settle in Los Angeles and pursue acting. She moved to Hollywood with high hopes. Chapter 3: Groundlings and the Birth of Elvira. In Los Angeles, Cassandra found her way into the world of comedy. In 1979, she joined an improvisational comedy troupe called the Groundlings, known for training many famous comedians. It was there that Cassandra crafted a character who would change her life. A bubbly, talkative valley girl persona, a caricature of a young California woman, complete with a carefree drawl and an air-headed charm. She performed this character in comedy sketches, and it quickly became a hit with audiences. At the Groundlings, Cassandra made friends with other up-and-coming performers and comedians. One of them would later create Pee Wee Herman. She absorbed their improv energy, but she was still hoping for a steady gig, perhaps in television or film. In 1981, fate gave her an unusual opportunity. KHJ-TV, a local Los Angeles station, was reviving its late-night horror movie show. They needed a hostess who could introduce campy B-movies and make them entertaining. They put out a casting call. Cassandra decided to audition, and in true improviser fashion, she thought of adapting her Valley Girl bit. The producers liked her bubbly persona, but asked her to add a spooky twist for the horror show. Cassandra puzzled over how a silly Valley Girl could be scary or gothic. At first, she tried a look inspired by the Sharon Tate character in The Fearless Vampire Killers, long red hair and a pale dress. The station said no. The character needed black hair and a black outfit. Working with her artist friend Robert Redding, Cassandra sketched out a new image. They drew on an old kabuki makeup book to create Elvira's ghostly white face paint, and took inspiration from Ronnie Spector of the Ronettes for the tall beehive hairdo, only dyed jet black. For clothing, she chose a slinky, low-cut black gown with long sleeves that became her trademark. The final touch was her name, Cassandra, and her team threw out ideas in a hat. And the winner was Elvira. It sounded ominous and glamorous. When Cassandra walked into the first taping as Elvira, even she was amazed at the transformation. The wild wig and dramatic eye makeup made her nearly unrecognizable from the girl from Kansas. Elvira emerged, a curvy, gothic beauty who spoke in a valley girl voice. She was sarcastic, witty, and unafraid to make risque jokes, often about her own extreme cleavage. From day one, Cassandra ad-libbed most of Elvira's lines. The producers didn't mind. They loved Elvira's quick banter and double entendres. Elvira's first show, Elvira's Movie Macabre, debuted in 1981. It was a low-budget midnight show playing classic horror B-movies for late-night audiences. Cassandra expected the show to be little more than a quirky side gig, something to pay the rent. She continued working temp secretary jobs during the day, thinking Elvira was just a fun hobby. But something unexpected happened. Viewers adored Elvira. Fans started calling the TV station, asking for Elvira at their events. Soon, her face was popping up in the phone book under Elvira, movie host, because the credits listed her name. Behind the scenes, not everyone was thrilled at first. A few weeks before Elvira's debut, an early TV horror host from the 1950s named Vampira, Mila Nurmi, even sued, claiming the persona was too similar to hers. Vampira had worn a black dress and dark hair as well. But the court decided that while Elvira was inspired by similar Gothic tropes, she was a distinct character. The likeness couldn't simply be a style or theme. Cassandra won the right to continue as Elvira. And continue she did. Chapter 4: Mistress of the Dark, The Rise to Fame. Once Movie Macabre was on the air with Cassandra as Elvira, popularity grew quickly. Elvira's unique blend of campy humor, sexy style, and genuine affection for cheesy horror movies struck a chord. Every episode became an event. Audiences tuned in not just for the old horror films, but especially to watch what zany thing Elvira would say and do. She'd wink at the camera, burp on cue, and deliver one-liners in her Valley Girl twang that made viewers laugh out loud. As word spread, Elvira soon outgrew Los Angeles. By the mid-1980s, Elvira's Movie Macabre was syndicated to TV stations across the country. In syndication, she was everywhere. On late-night cable, midnight movie blocks, you name it. Halloween season especially became her domain. Every October, viewers would flock to horror channels and networks to see Elvira host scary film marathons. It turned out that Elvira wasn't just a local Los Angeles secret. She was becoming a national cult phenomenon. Cassandra was savvy about the business side of her fame. Early on, she noticed the studio was making money off Elvira merchandise and syndication, while she was paid only her modest hosting fee. The cheap paychecks and unpaid 3D glasses promotion from a TV special frustrated her. Eventually, after some negotiation, Cassandra secured a better deal. She retained complete ownership of the Elvira character and all the merchandise rights. This meant she earned royalties from costumes, comic books, action figures, and any product bearing Elvira's likeness. It was an unusual arrangement, and it made Cassandra a shrewd businesswoman. In fact, she later quipped that the station had actually been paying her far too little. For example, she only got $350 out of the millions the station made selling cheap 3D glasses. So she didn't feel guilty collecting later. Thanks to that deal, Cassandra's wealth and independence grew with Elvira's success, and she never looked back. In 1988, Elvira's fame reached a new height with the release of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, a feature film co-written by Cassandra herself. The movie told the story of Elvira inheriting a spooky mansion and accidentally running for town mayor, all with her tongue planted firmly in her cheek. It became a campy cult classic. 14 years later, in 2001, Cassandra revived Elvira on film again in Elvira's Haunted Hills, a parody of gothic horror that she co-wrote and filmed in Romania with a tight budget. Both films have endured as beloved parts of the Elvira canon. Through the years, Elvira's spooky but funny persona found its way into pop culture everywhere. She hosted Halloween specials on MTV, made funny commercials, and even appeared in a variety of TV shows and events outside of horror. For example, the camera might catch her as a guest commentator during events like WrestleMania or on quirky reality shows like RuPaul's Drag Race or Halloween Wars. In 1985, she had a memorable cameo as a motorcycle gang leader in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, rubbing shoulders with Pee Wee Herman himself. She voiced characters in animated series and showed up in other films. Cassandra carefully cultivated Elvira's brand as family-friendly camp rather than anything truly scary. She turned every Halloween into a celebration. She would sign autographs at conventions, attend costume parties, and run Elvira's fan club, where fans could get newsletters and even 3D TV specials. By the mid-1980s, companies were licensing Elvira's image for Halloween decorations, calendars, dolls, pinball machines, you name it. If it had a horror theme, there was a good chance Elvira was in it. Wherever there was spooky fun, Elvira was there. Importantly, Cassandra never abandoned her roots in comedy and writing. She wrote most of Elvira's movie skits and the jokes for her TV episodes, often collaborating with her old groundlings pal, John Paragon. Together, they even wrote Elvira novels like Transylvania 90210 and The Boy Who Cried Werewolf for young adult readers. Spooky stories with a wink. Over the years, as other horror hosts came and went, Elvira remained steadfast. By 2010, she returned to TV in a new syndicated show, and even later for special Halloween marathons on streaming platforms. Cassandra always insisted she would never stop being Elvira, joking hell to the no when asked if she'd ever retire the tight black dress. To her fans' delight, she continued to pop up wherever horror needed a hostess. As the years went on, the mantle Queen of Halloween was clearly hers. Chapter 5. Behind the Glamour. Trials and Triumphs. Cassandra. Peterson's journey to becoming Elvira was not without its hardships. Beneath the heavy makeup and the witty one-liners, she faced very real struggles and found unexpected strength in the persona she had created. First and foremost was the shadow cast by her childhood accident. Cass believes that growing up with severe burn scars made her feel like an outsider for much of her youth. She would tell interviewers that as a little girl, she felt like the monsters on TV, the outcasts in the films she loved. Those feelings of being different and weird, as she called it, sometimes left her insecure. But Cassandra determined early on not to let those scars define her life. Instead, she channeled that inner outsider into her work. She once said that if anyone made fun of her, Elvira, the character, would smack them down with a sarcastic quip. In this way, the scars that could have broken her instead became the foundation for her empathy and her humor. Throughout her 20s, Cassandra also encountered the dark side of show business. We mentioned the exploitative photo shoot that ended up in magazines without her consent, a violation of trust that left her feeling powerless at the time. She never forgave those photographers, and it took years before she was willing to share that story. There were also rumors and encounters with famous men of the era. For instance, she had friendships and brief romantic liaisons with actors like Jon Voight and Robert De Niro in the 1970s. She later described some of those experiences as eye-opening, but ultimately unsatisfying. Even more harrowing was a story she waited decades to tell. In her memoir and interviews, Cassandra revealed that during her early career, she was sexually assaulted by a very famous athlete, the basketball legend Wilt Chamberlain. She explained that they had known each other casually. He had dated her roommate once, so when he invited her to a party in Los Angeles, she went by herself. What happened at that party was a brutal assault. Cassandra said she felt a deep sense of shame and fear in the moment, and immediately blamed herself for being there. She was terrified to report it. An out-of-work actress and ex-showgirl going up against a giant basketball star, she later remarked. After the incident, she and Wilt never spoke again, and Cassandra buried the event in silence for decades. It was only in 2021, during the wave of the #MeToo movement, that Cassandra felt ready and supported enough to share this painful secret publicly. She said she hoped that by speaking out, other survivors might feel less alone, and that men might begin to understand the position many women have to navigate. In interviews, she explained that when she would now show up at events as Elvira, the situation would be very different. In character, she felt invincible. Nobody messed with Elvira, she laughed, noting that even tough-looking men treated Elvira with deference. In the role of Elvira, Cassandra had found an almost magical cloak of protection and the confidence to laugh at fear itself. On a different personal front, Cassandra experienced the ups and downs of family life. In 1981, the same year Elvira debuted, she married musician Mark Pearson. Mark became more than a husband. He also became her personal manager and helped navigate the business side of Elvira's burgeoning empire. They had one daughter together. For many years, they made a life-balancing family and career in California. But by 2003, their marriage ended in divorce. Cassandra has spoken warmly about co-parenting and said there was no scandal, just the end of a chapter. After separating from Mark, Cassandra's personal life took a turn she had kept entirely private for 2 decades. In 2002, she met Teresa T. Weyerson, and they formed a romantic partnership. It was only in 2021 that Cassandra publicly revealed this relationship, explaining that she had been waiting until she felt safe and secure enough in her career and finances to live openly. Her fans reacted with tremendous support and love. Teresa had been by her side as a silent partner during years of conventions and public appearances without ever taking the spotlight. Cassandra now refers to Teresa as my partner of 19 years, the love of my life, which would have been impossible to say publicly during the height of Elvira's popularity. Their coming out was a celebration for fans of all ages and backgrounds, from grateful gay and lesbian followers to straight fans who respected her honesty. One fan even ran up to tell Teresa that Cassandra's book changed how he thought about sexuality. Cassandra also faced struggles in her own family. In her memoir, she talks about an emotionally abusive mother. She had hesitated to share those stories, worrying about hurting her mother's memory. But after her mother passed away, Cassandra felt free to tell the truth. she explained that her mother had always been critical and controlling, which made Cassandra determined to carve out her own path even more fiercely. Through all this, Cassandra held on to key beliefs that powered her through tough times. She remained an ethical eater, a vegetarian, partly out of compassion for animals. In fact, throughout her career, she supported animal rights and even lent her name and voice to organizations like PETA. Her compassion for the underdog, human and animal, never wavered, and it quietly informed how she ran her Elvira business with integrity. Instead of letting tragedy or prejudice define her, Cassandra turned them into motivation. The same mind that told a young Cassandra she was a freak after her burns would later give Elvira lines that had audiences cheering. The pain she endured gave Cassandra the empathy to connect with fans. She often said that Elvira's fans were like family, the weirdos and outsiders who felt at home in the dark of night, laughing at monsters just like she did as a child. Chapter 6: Memoirs and Revelations. When Cassandra Peterson published her memoir, Yours Cruelly, Elvira, Memoirs of the Mistress of the Dark, in September 2021, the world got an intimate backstage pass into her life. Almost every secret was laid bare: her Kansas childhood, her Hollywood adventures, and all the highs and lows along the way. Listeners and readers learned how the girl from rural Kansas became a showgirl in Las Vegas, how she rubbed elbows with celebrities like Elvis Presley and Tom Jones. She described shooting some playful pool with Sammy Davis Jr., sharing laughs with Frank Sinatra, even a wild night with Tom Jones on a cruise ship. They learned about behind-the-scenes groundling shenanigans and even laugh-out-loud tales like nearly being kidnapped by a fan in Arizona after a show. Of course, the memoir also detailed what Cassandra had kept hidden for so long. In it, she addresses the male-dominated industry head-on. She recounts audition harassment by powerful men, the truth of that assault in her own apartment by a stranger she met at a bar, and the Wilt Chamberlain story. She does not shy away from writing candidly that these experiences were horrific and left her shaken. But she also writes about how Elvira's corset became her armor, stepping onto the set as Elvira made her feel fearless. Cassandra said she had always felt that once she donned that dress and hair, even motorcycle gang members would turn into little whimpering girls before approaching her for an autograph. That dramatic contrast, the timid girl versus the confident hostess, became a symbol of empowerment. In Yours Cruelly, Elvira, Cassandra also opens her heart about love and identity. She writes with warmth about Teresa, her longtime partner, and how they built a life together outside of the spotlight. By revealing at last that she is gay, Cassandra became an instant role model for many in the LGBTQ+ community. She admitted she had feared retaliation or a loss of fame, but the response was overwhelmingly positive. Pride events began celebrating Elvira, and Cassandra herself became a regular at Pride parades, often appearing in full Elvira regalia, and LGBTQ conventions, calling her queer fans Elvira's beloved Transylvanians. At interviews, Cassandra confessed she had waited until she turned 70 and felt financially secure before coming out, so she wouldn't have to start her career over if backlash came. She told one interviewer, "Now I can just say, read the freaking book," when asked about Elvira, and know people have all the personal answers right there. The memoir was a bestseller, and Cassandra relished the chance to set the record straight about many things. For example, long-standing rumors about her supposed feud with The Godfather 2 star Robert De Niro, or thoughts on various co-stars, suddenly became clarifications in her own words. Cassandra also explained industry jokes, like how she walked away from a lucrative beer commercial with Coors due to a mysterious change of heart she only revealed in print. She even talked about a haunted house she once lived in, literally ghostly visitors, a bizarre murder of neighbors she witnessed, and her belief that life is often as crazy as any Halloween story. All these revelations added layers to her public persona. They let fans see Cassandra Peterson, the person, separate from Elvira, the character. And yet, interestingly, many people felt more connected to Elvira after reading the book. They realized Cassandra had deliberately blurred the lines between herself and her creation, and now they could appreciate the care she took to protect Elvira's image while still honoring her real experiences. Cassandra said the response to the book was better than I expected. She received heartfelt messages from fans who felt so many people changed their minds about life and love after reading it. For instance, a stranger even told her partner Teresa that the memoir had reshaped his understanding of sexuality. With her revelations out in the open, Cassandra admitted she felt liberated. She had spent most of her career guarding her secrets so the mistress of the dark could shine on her own. But now she felt comfortable enough to be fully herself. Cassandra and Elvira, hand in hand. She often jokes that she still loves being asked questions about Elvira, because it means people still care. But after so many stories told in her own voice, she can now say to curious souls, "Read the freaking book." In short, the memoir gave Cassandra a new platform. Beyond horror and humor, it positioned her as a candid storyteller and an outspoken advocate. She realized the impact she could have by being honest, and fans embraced that vulnerability with love. Chapter 7: Legacy of the Mistress. Pop Culture. Icon and Inspiration. Today, Cassandra Peterson's legacy stretches far beyond her midnight movie host days. She has become an enduring cultural icon. Every autumn, as Halloween approaches, her name buzzes in the air. Elvira. Costumes pop up in stores, and cosplay fans around the world dress in black wigs and glittering gowns in her honor. The Mistress of the Dark has become synonymous with Halloween's playful spirit. A champion of camp, not just genuine horror. Cassandra's influence on pop culture is clear. She showed the world that a woman could be sexy, funny, and smart all at once. Elvira wasn't just eye candy. She was razor-tongued, witty, and always in control of the situation. She turned the idea of the helpless damsel on its head. As Cassandra herself said, she realized early on that playing girlfriend roles in movies wouldn't pay off as much as continuing with Elvira. She confidently leaned into the character rather than running from being typecast. By making Elvira a profitable empire, owning her image and branding, she set an example for other artists to own their creations. Female comedians and actresses have cited Elvira as a trailblazer. She was one of the first to pair pin-up glamour with geeky humor and feminist chic. Her legacy also lives on through her music, books, and media appearances. Cassandra recorded quirky Elvira-themed songs and Halloween albums that still spin on radio each October. She released children's picture books featuring Elvira's misadventures to amuse young readers, and even a Halloween cookbook filled with campy recipes, bridging her persona with everyday fun. In 2025, Cassandra unveiled a full-fledged Elvira's Cookbook from Hell, proving that Elvira could also be a party hostess in the kitchen. These projects keep her connected with fans new and old. Through it all, Cassandra has never stopped performing in some form. She stays in touch with fans via social media and horror conventions. She attends Halloween events at theme parks, charity walks, and horror festivals, always happy to pose for a selfie with an adoring fan dressed as herself. In interviews and on stage, she often reflects on her journey with humility, reminding listeners that the Mistress of the Dark is really just a girl from Kansas who loved monster movies and got lucky. Perhaps most poignantly, Cassandra's story inspires empowerment. People in the entertainment industry admire her business acumen. She turned a part-time hosting job into a lifelong career on her own terms. Fans from all walks of life admire her resilience, she overcame physical trauma, sexual trauma, and industry exploitation, yet emerged stronger and more outspoken. LGBTQ+ communities have embraced her as one of their own, celebrating how she came out and claimed happiness. Young women who face body image issues find hope in Cassandra's confidence with her scars, and children who read her spooky stories feel a little braver, knowing that the Lady in Black is friendly underneath it all. Cassandra has used her platform to support causes she believes in. She has championed animal rights, lending her voice to help stranded pets and wildlife. She's spoken about vegetarianism as a positive choice, and even used humor to make political statements. Fans still chuckle about the time she cleverly protested a tech mogul by writing "Elon sucks" on her own electric car as a joke. She turned a political prank into a charity event for public radio. At home, Cassandra still lives a fairly quiet life when she's not in costume. She and Teresa share a love for old horror films and spend summers on a small farm tending to rescued animals. She often posts pictures of their pet goat or rescued turtle. Cassandra eats mostly vegetarian, practices yoga, and writes new material, saying that creativity still energizes her every day. Although the bouffant wig is retired more often now, Elvira is never far away in her heart. As night falls each day, Cassandra Peterson remains ever ready to don the black dress again, perhaps for a special broadcast, a film project, or just to surprise a fan. 45 years after Elvira's debut, Cassandra was asked if she's done. She simply shrugged with a grin and said, "Are you out of your mind?" Elvira is immortal as far as Cassandra is concerned. Her legacy is clear. Cassandra Peterson took every bump on the road and made it part of her story. She was determined not to let her scars and secrets define her, instead using them to create something magical. In her own words from the NASDAQ announcement of her memoir, "It's been one hell of a ride." Indeed, it has. Now that ride is also a lesson to listeners. Be brave in the face of adversity, laugh at the darkness, and above all, stay true to yourself. As our journey through Cassandra Peterson's life comes to an end, we remember the words Elvira herself always said, "Unpleasant dreams," or maybe in our listener's lullaby, a twist. "Pleasant dreams, darlings." Whatever dreams come, may they carry a bit of Elvira's spooky joy and Cassandra's spirit of empowerment into the night. The end.